walk up to your dog and tell them that you're thankful for them. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Evelyn, and as I'm sitting down here to film this, Thanksgiving is just right around the corner. And now I know that not everybody celebrates Thanksgiving. It's kind of an American thing, and then even here there's like lots of issues. That being said, I do really enjoy the aspect of the holiday that is being thankful for all of the good things that have happened to you in the past year. Every year before we sit down to eat, my family and I go around the table and we each list a few things that we were thankful for. And so I decided that this year I was going to make a video about all of the book-related things that I'm thankful for. Books, authors, other booktubers, other readers, just all of the things about this community that I love about it. Well, not all of the things, obviously, because this video would be hours long. I'm just gonna go ahead and say right now that I am so thankful for you watching this video currently. Let's get started with, let's see, how about the book that I'm currently reading, Dumplin' by Julie Murphy. For those of you who don't know, this book is being adapted, or has been adapted, and the adaptation comes out on Netflix on December 7th. So everyone should go watch it, because I'm reading this book right now, and it is amazing, and I've heard really great things about the adaptation. Like, the author has been working with them, that kind of thing. So I'm pretty sure it's gonna be on the same level as To All the Boys I've Loved Before, Love, Simon, and The Hate You Give, in terms of, like, being a great adaptation. I'm one of those people who really wants to read the book before I watch the movie. I just don't want, like, the movie to taint my experience with the book, so that's why I'm reading it now, and I'm absolutely adoring it. It is so weirdly relatable to me, just because of, like, the southern culture that it covers, which this book is set in Texas. I live in Oklahoma, which is, like, Texas's dorky looking hat. So, I totally get it from, like, a cultural standpoint, like small town kind of vibe in the South. But then also, it's just such an uplifting story so far. I'm really hoping that I will finish this book and love it, and then be able to watch a really amazing adaptation of it in a few weeks. The first other reader that I want to shout out in this video is Hannah from A Clockwork Reader, because she was the very first booktuber that I found on YouTube and started watching, and I honestly can't remember how I found her videos or why, but I started watching her first, and then I clicked on a few other videos, and now I'm here. But her channel and her videos and she as a person are still probably one of my biggest sources of inspiration, and whenever I feel bad about my channel and maybe I don't want to be doing this anymore and maybe it's not worth it, I'm not growing enough, I'm not, like, doing enough, I'm not original enough, I go and I watch her videos and they remind me why I started to begin with, and she's such just an amazing, inspiring person that I'm so thankful that I happened to find her videos on YouTube, and here we are. The first author I want to talk about is somebody that has had my heart for a very long time. Rick. Uncle Rick. Author of the Percy Jackson books and many other books that have made my life so much better. He is such an advocate for every single child who reads any one of his books, and it's so amazing to me, like, the way he started out writing the Percy Jackson series as a way to help his son deal with having ADHD and dyslexia, to now the books that he's writing where he includes LGBT characters and characters of color. There's brilliant representation where he puts the time in and the effort to research things. Like, he has a Muslim character in one of his stories who, during one of their quests, is fasting, and he put the time in to research what exactly goes into those customs and those traditions. and I think that's amazing. And because he's known for doing mythology, there are people out there who are like, when are you going to do this mythology and this mythology? And instead of saying, oh, sure, I'll just go do that, he acknowledged, I am not the right person to write about Mayan mythology or Korean mythology or Indian mythology. He started an imprint where he went and found other authors, own voices authors, to write their own stories and just gave them a little push into the world, right? And I could literally make an entire video about why he's so amazing and why he is not doing the bare minimum, because there are people who are like, he gets so much credit and he's doing the bare minimum, but the bare minimum is nothing and he is doing everything he can, and I am just so thankful for that. The next book that I'm thankful for is actually the very first ARC that I ever got for review. When I was little, maybe like 6 or 7, I was part of this program where they sent you children's books for free, like ARCs of children's books, to review. I'm very grateful for that because they sent me one of my favorite books of all time. This is Adeline and the Yellow Cat by Chris Riddell. It is the original ARC copy that I got. This book released in 2008, so I was 7 when it came out. I remember sitting on my bed and finishing this in one sitting. Every page has an illustration on it, which Chris Riddell's kind of known for, like, having illustrations be part of the books that he does, and the illustrations are like half of the story. Without them, it wouldn't have the same kind of charm. And this book actually spawned a series, I believe, so there's at least one other book, if not more. Adeline is a little girl who lives on the 24th floor of the Pepper Pot building, and she lives alone with Mr. Monroe, who's her little friend, and sometimes they solve mysteries together. I bet I could sit here right now and read it in one sitting again and love it just as much as I did the day that I first picked it up. The next author that I am thankful for is actually my editor from Barnes & Noble Teen, Melissa Albert, who is now a New York Times best-selling author of this book, The Hazelwood. She was kind enough to send me one of these beautiful ARCs so that I could read it before it came out. It came out in January of this year. I'm thankful for Melissa because when I applied for the Barnes & Noble job, I remember being like, I don't remember how to do this, and I was like not at all confident, but I sent them in, I sent my application in, and then she picked me. She read words I wrote and thought, I like this kid, and she picked me, and she's been so supportive of all of us bloggers ever since. And then how can I talk about my amazing editor at Barnes & Noble without talking about the other teen bloggers who are also really amazing humans. I've connected with a lot of them outside of the email chains that we have. I follow a lot of them on Twitter. We've talked about books that we love and how weird college applications are and like where to go in Paris. I should talk to you guys more, basically, because you're all really cool bookish people. Also, you've recommended to me some of my favorite books of all time, so there's that. So I write books, or I try to at least, and although I've been working on more contemporary stuff lately, my ultimate goal is to get a fantasy novel published. Whenever I start a fantasy project, it always somehow ends up being a portal fantasy. Even if it didn't start out that way, it always ends up as a portal fantasy. And I think that's because of this next book, The Golden Compass by Philip Pullman. I can't actually remember how old I was when I first read this book, but I know that my parents had read it, and I think my father read it out loud to me, the entire series. But I couldn't have been older than 6 because, as you can see, this was made into a major motion picture that sucked. It was so bad. And that was in 2007. And I watched that movie and it literally made me cry. So what I'm saying is, this is kind of a dark book, and my parents read it to me at a very young age, and it has influenced the way that I think about the world. This series has a really cool view on, like, universes and, like, multiverses and, like, how worlds affect each other and that kind of thing. And the characters have a way that they can travel between. To this day, every time I try and write fantasy, it's a portal fantasy. So I am thankful for the Golden Compass for introducing me to a million new worlds. The next author I'm going to talk about is one that you probably were expecting to be on this list, and that is Becky Albertalli, my all-time favorite contemporary author. And I know not all of you are Becky Albertalli fans. And honestly, the first time I tried to read Simon vs. the Homo Sapiens Agenda, I didn't like it and I didn't finish it. But when I came back to it, I think I came back to it at the exact right time. And when I read The Upside of Unrequited, I read it at the exact right time. And when I read Leon the Offbeat, I read it at the exact right time. So for some reason, her books keep coming to me when I need them the most, and her characters speak to me in a way that not a lot of other characters ever have. Her books just remind you that it's okay to be human. So thank you, Becky, for always being there for me. So the next person I want to talk about is actually 3 people, and that's Hannah, Holly, and Emmi. They were my first 3 booktube friends. Looking through one of those, like, if you're a small booktuber, put your channel down below and then we can be friends kind of things. That's how I found Hannah, and I started following her. She posted something about looking for people to do, like, this series with her, and me and Holly and Emmi were like, that sounds cool, and so we became friends. We never actually got around to doing that first collab, but we are currently collabing with a few other people to bring you the 12 Days of Readathon, which runs next month from December 12th to December 23rd, and you should totally check out our Twitter, and also my last video where I told you more about that. But yeah, back to the humans. They are just some of the most lovely, supportive people I have ever met. Anytime anything good happens with my channel or in my life and I post about it or I talk about it, they are always right there to congratulate me, and I'm always happy for any successes that they have in life. I am so glad that I met them and that I reached out to them, because they were so nice, and that's given me the confidence to reach out to other people in this community. So thank you, all 3 of you, for being such wonderful friends. And now a book. I'm thankful for this book for a lot of reasons. First of all, for giving me one of my absolute favorite childhood heroes. One of the only female characters in a book that I looked up to, who was the main character of the book. As much as I love Harry Potter, Percy Jackson, the main characters in those are guys. The main character of this book, Dealing with Dragons, is a princess named Cimarine, and she runs away from home in order to avoid having to marry someone she does not care for, and decides to become the princess to a dragon. On purpose, which usually is not the case. And she's just such a smart, driven character who knows exactly what she wants, and that is to be in charge of her own life. It is one of the 2 books that I sent a review in for when I was hoping to get the job with Barnes & Noble. Not only does this have a lot of cherished childhood memories, like the spine of this paperback. It's so creased. I love it so much. But also it played a big part in my journey Here, I didn't think that I still knew how to recommend books, but because I picked a book that I loved so much, obviously I wrote some of that love into that review, because here I am now, reviewing books. Not for a living, because I get paid in other books, but, you know, professionally. If you have not picked up this series, there are 3 other books in the series, and they're amazing and fantastic. And I think in my Witchathon vlog, I compared them to The Girl Who Drank the Moon, content-wise, totally. And so if you were one of the people who read that for Witchathon and you really liked it and you want to read more in a similar vein, you might try these. So the next author that I'm thankful for is Sancha Menon. I'm thankful for her because her 2 books, the main characters are both teenage girls, and although they come from very different cultural backgrounds than me, I still felt so seen while reading her books, especially Twinkle, just because we share a similar interest in film. The voices of these girls, of Twinkle and of Dimple and hopefully of Sweetie, just spoke to me. Her characters are just so real and imperfect, and they can be bossy and they can make mistakes, and they're just perfectly imperfect and so relatable that when I read this, I started crying because of how it made me feel very, very understood. You can tell that she puts so much of herself and her heart into her stories and into her characters, and she is one of the authors that I will always be rooting for. On my list of wonderful humans that I'm very, very thankful for is Rocky from A Blonde with a Book. Rocky just won a giveaway for a book that she has been wanting to read for ever because it has representation for her heritage. She got an ARC, and she's been talking for like months about needing an ARC of this book, and she finally got it. And it's because Rocky's been talking about this book for so long that I also want to read this book. If she loves something, she does not shut up about it, but in the best way possible. I cannot count the number of times I've been on Twitter, scrolling through Twitter, and seen somebody tweeting about how they started the Charlotte Holmes series because of Rocky, and it's because when she loves something and it means something to her, she advocates for it so passionately, and that's amazing to me. I am just so impressed by her dedication, being known for like wrecking one book so much that like half of BookTube has read it because of you. Just, you go girl. So this is another book that I'm very thankful for because the main character I was able to relate to so much that it made me feel so seen. Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. I am eerily similar to Kath in a lot of ways. A few years ago, before I discovered BookTube, my thing was fan fiction, and I did at one point have kind of a weird small following. When I read this book, it was the first book I'd read with a character with anxiety. It was the first book I'd read with a character who is like so deeply involved in fandom culture. And there are other books now that I've read, Geekarella and Queens of Geek, Eliza and Her Monsters. All 3 of those have made me feel seen in the same way that this book has, but this book was just the very first book I'd read with a character that I related so fully to, so it always is going to have a special place in my heart. So the next author that I want to talk about is actually several authors, and it's any own voices author who has ever written books about girls who love girls. Hopefully one day I will be one of you. So I'm just gonna hold up my arc of The Summer of Jordi Perez by Amy Spalding. She's one of them. Nina LaCour is one of them. Honestly, there's so many, and I've been trying my darndest to read more. You know, queer books have been getting a lot of hype recently, which is great, but queer female books still don't get as much recognition. You know, a lot of the, like, oh my gosh, queer fiction books are about guys, gay guys. And there are a lot of gay guys in the world, but there are also a lot of lesbians. So just thank you from the bottom of my heart to be brave enough to share a little piece of your heart and your love. So the next two humans I want to talk about, I am thankful for similar reasons, so I'm going to combine them. They also happen to be friends, so it works out, and that is Spencer from Come & Spence and Rhiannon from Crescent Reads. And I am so thankful for them because of what they do for our community. Both of them are so good at starting projects and involving their communities in projects. Rhiannon did Witchathon, and now she's doing Hunger Along, and she'll be doing Witchathon again in December. Spencer did the Darker Shade of Read-alongs. He's right now doing a survey about Booktube so he can do a whole series about issues in our community, and they do these things because they love our community so much. Rhiannon's starting a podcast, 2 podcasts. They are just always so dedicated in their theming. They always have really cool, original, unique ideas. Rhiannon always does really cool stuff about her practice as a witch, and Spencer is always doing really cool stuff where he includes all of his friends in his videos. He did like a whole Friendship Month series, and they are just 2 astoundingly dedicated individuals, and I am so thankful to be able to experience that. The next book, there's another one you might have been expecting me to be thankful for, and that's Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice, which I absolutely love, and I can't really quite articulate why I love it so much. I almost feel guilty about how much I like this book. It's kind of like I can read this and be like, I read Pride and Prejudice again. People will be like, oh, impressive, because it's a classic. But really, it's just like reading any other romance novel. So it's like, I can read a romance novel and also be pretentious about it. And I love that. And thank you, Jane Austen. I could go into more detail, but that about sums it up. So, the last author that I want to talk about is actually 3 wonderful ladies, and that's the Lady Janies. Okay, so 2 reasons that I love these women. 1, if I'm ever feeling unconsolably bad, I can pick up one of their books and read any part of it, and it will make me laugh. Like, they're hilarious. The other reason that I'm thankful for them is because they literally made me love a book based off of the book that I hate most in the world. This book is amazing, and everyone should read it, as opposed to Jane Eyre, which I think no one should read. I will be incredibly upset if they never make another book together, because there are definitely more Janes that you could write about. For instance, there's one in this book. The last booktuber that I have to talk about is Tom from TJ Reads the Stars, and I'm thankful for Tom because he is possibly the most inclusive human I have ever met in my entire life. He is so nice to everyone, and he always makes me feel welcome, which is amazing because I always feel like an outsider most times, especially in weird situations where the social norms are not clear, like the internet. Tom just always knows everyone and is so nice to everyone and is so supportive and just gives off this amazing energy of just like sheer love. And that's the kind of energy we all need in our lives, especially in a time like this one where there's not enough love to go around. But Tom is willingly giving all of his away to us, and we should be eternally grateful for that. Thank you so much, my friend. And then I have one more book. Well, it's a book series that I want to talk about. The Sea of Ink and Gold series by Tracy Chee. This story reminded me how powerful words can be. They can literally build entirely new worlds out of nothing. And we all can use them. They're a tool that we all have, and not enough people learn how to wield it. So it's just kind of reaffirmed to me that I am doing the right thing by wanting to keep studying writing and keep learning how to use those tools. And then I have two more readers to thank. They may or may not be listening to the talk right now because it's my parents. I would not be sitting here with all these books on my shelf if they hadn't paid for them. Obviously, they were the ones who instilled my love of books into me literally from like the womb. They have always supported this, and they've always supported me wanting to write. I just love them a whole lot. So that is all that I have for you guys today. I hope you all have a wonderful holiday season. Even if you don't celebrate Thanksgiving, I encourage every one of you to go tell somebody in your life that you are thankful for them, whether it be your friends or your family or your favorite teacher or an author. Text somebody, call somebody, tweet at them, go call your mom and tell her you love her. Put a little bit of that love that you have for them out into the world. I'm sure that they will appreciate it. If perhaps you're thankful for me, you could show it by leaving a comment down below and a thumbs up, and maybe even clicking that subscribe button so that you can see more videos from my channel. That being said, my name is Evelyn. I make new videos every magical Monday, and I'll see you real soon. Bye-bye.